Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Sam and Cole podcast, brought to you by Black Creek Outfitters right there in the town center. Stop by and see Joe Butler or anybody who's there, because the one thing that's neat about that place, Cole, and I know you've experienced this, when you walk in, somebody says, "Can I help you?"
Yep.
And I rarely experience that in a store that's as big and complete and has as much inventory and stock as they do, from stand-up paddle boards to hiking shoes to the latest in techwear. In fact, I wore a shirt, an Arc'teryx shirt that I bought at Black Creek to Jaguar practice today, and it's that tech material, and they've done so many different things with it. And living in Florida, I mean, if I put on a regular golf shirt these days, I feel like I'm wearing a blanket.
Yeah.
You know? Right. So Joe's got all the latest stuff. Those cool pants, KUHL pants. Really, they've got some good Florida stuff and some long sleeve stuff from Ex Officio that has the sunblock on it, 90 plus sunblock. All that's the stuff that you're going to need all summer long. That's at Black Creek Outfitters, that are our presenting sponsor here of the Sam and Cole podcast. Cole, I was out at the Jaguar organized team activity today, and interesting to see that many guys out there. 84 players participated. You had one, Chris Clemens, who was not there. According to Gus Bradley, he has an issue. But it is interesting to see the mesh of the new players, the 17 undrafted free agents, and the 9, or in this case the 8, Colvin not participating, draft picks, meshing in with the current players on the roster. And to see, the one thing that you recognize right away is that this is a faster team overall. And that's what Dave Caldwell told us after the draft, but it passes the eye test when you see it on the field.
You know what the OTAs are to me? The OTAs are a little pool, a little puddle of muddy water in the desert for football fans. It is not even the preseason, which I always refer to as the appetizer before the main course of the regular season. This is, gosh, it has been months since we've had football, and we've had a rookie camp that was like, I just got a little bit of a drop off a leaf and cut open a cactus and tried to squeeze some moisture out, and now I found this little puddle of dirty water. There maybe is a salamander crawling out of it, but I've got to drink it anyway. There is so little that actually matters that comes out of. There has never been something that's happened in the OTAs that you've gone, oh, well, this changes everything.
Right.
Even an injury this early. A lot of time, the Cowboys may have lost a linebacker for the whole year with an ACL. All right, that has something. But most injuries you can still come back from in time for spring train or for training camp. So it's fun. I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't be covering it, but it is so fun. And now with everything as spread out as it possibly can be, basically in the NFL calendar, we are almost, not quite, but almost as far away now from football that matters as you can possibly be and still be looking forward.
I was fooled by the OTAs once and never again, and that was when I saw R.J. Soward running around making plays against veteran players and looking like a complete Hall of Famer.
Right.
And I never since then have I been fooled by the OTAs. It is underwear practice. They're running around in jerseys and helmets. But what was interesting about this, and how this is different than even last year's, is that you've got these rookies coming in here who pass that test that Gus and Dave have, because they rely heavily on the interview process. So you have those guys who want to compete, and all of a sudden they get into not a rookie minicamp, but a real NFL practice. And the tempo is faster, the players are faster, the veterans on the other side are as much understanding of what you're trying to do as you are, and their heads are spinning. There's a lot going on there, and this group and last year's group as well seem to be able to try to handle that. And that's what you're looking for. Is a guy just lost? Is a guy completely lost? Or, as we saw Blaine Gabbert be so many times, or is the guy at least on the same page with everybody else? And that's what I saw today, by the way, in all 4 quarterbacks who saw action, including Blake Bortles.
I'll say this, though, about Bortles. If he looks a little lost right now, so what?
Well, I agree with that.
And you'd almost expect him to, and if he didn't, you'd go, either they're spoon feeding him or I'm missing something. And
Well,
I think Chad Henne made the point today that Bortles said to him, "Gosh, it's a lot faster than rookie camp.
right.
The pace is going to be stepped up. There's going to be more energy, and you kind of get the sense in hearing from Henne that not only does he know that for the time being this is his team, but he's like the senior in high school who comes the first day of class, and he's not ever been the star pupil or hasn't been the coolest kid, but he knows his way around now, right? He's not the valedictorian, but he knows his way around enough that even though this up and coming freshman steps onto campus, he still doesn't know where he's going. Yeah, now I know where classroom 131 is. Kid, come with me. I'll show you the way. It's just there's a comfort level you can just sense with Henne, with the offense, with the coaches, with the building, with everything, because he's been through it now. And I think because he doesn't feel like he's in what I would consider a real quarterback competition, maybe. He's always been a pretty calm guy, but I get a certain sense of calm from Henne that's a very veteran sense of calm that maybe we weren't asking the same questions last year because of the situation of things, but he sounds like he's kind of gotten serenity now.
Well, it's his team, and
Yep.
you're right, and he's been told that, and he has taken that to heart, and that is how he acts, and he acts like the man, and that's fantastic, because Bortles has always, part of his personality, been able to act like the man. And so for Bortles to kind of subjugate himself to that and understand that Henne is the guy, I think is a tremendous learning situation in the locker room for everybody. They all seem to get along. They all have that thread of personality that I think Gus and Dave are looking for. I think it's fascinating when you watched, I said this a million times, Blake Gabbert practice. It was unbelievable because one of the things was his arm strength. The ball absolutely sings coming out of his hand. I mean, Brunell threw it like that. But his arm, Gabbert's arm, was almost Elway-esque in terms of its strength and its ability to kind of get the ball there as it came out of there. When you watch practice now, Bortles and Henne and Stanzi and Morris, the ball comes out at about the same speed, about everybody. So there's no kind of discrepancy there. And I said this the last time. Bortles looks like the raw version of what they want him to be at about a year from now.
Mm-hmm.
He looks like he can put on 10 pounds. He looks like the ball can be about a foot faster. He looks like he can have about a split-second quicker decision-making. All of those things that they projected and what Caldwell said after the draft, that he would progress as much between year one and year two as anybody. You can see that when you go and ask the team to pass the eye test by watching it.
I'm going to spend some time this week watching the receivers as well. You can learn more about the receivers and the defensive backs than you can about the linemen on either side of the football in these OTAs. I really liked what I saw out of Allen Robinson during the rookie camp. I liked the way
you'd like today's. You'd like today's too as well.
Is that right? Yeah, I like the way he catches the football, and sometimes you go off the sound. People used to talk about the sound of the ball coming off, the bat of a natural slugger, off Ken Griffey Jr.'s bat, or off, Hank Aaron's bat, or whomever. The ball would it has a different sound. Well, the ball has a different sound when it hits the hands of a receiver who really knows how to catch the football. And it's a louder sound when Marquise Lee catches it, but when Robinson catches it, it kind of has that sound. The ball just goes in.
Like it's going to stick.
Yes.
And the one thing about Robinson that I think people will be surprised, he's a little faster than you anticipate him being, because he is a bigger guy. He doesn't look like Cecil Shorts. He doesn't look like Marquise Lee. He's a bigger guy, but he's a little faster than you expect him to be out of there. Toby Gerhart, you're not going to know anything about him through these camps except to see his footwork and his speed, and that is enough to, if you're not watching, if you're having a conversation, when you see him flash around the corner, you recognize, you kind of turn your head like, who is that? Because he also, is bigger than you anticipate him being for being that kind of quick to have that kind of speed.
So as the OTAs were going on today, on the other side of Everbank Field, at the Gator Bowl sports offices, the first board meeting was being held for the Jacksonville Sports Council. The media was invited to that one. There was bad timing, right, with the OTAs opening up over there. So
right.
I went, all right, I'm going to go over to this other one. I'm going to check out what's happening with Jack Sports, and I will tell you that their board is a powerhouse board. I mean, there are a lot of big, substantial names that are in there. Carl Cannon is the chairman of their board, the former publisher of the paper, and a guy who was instrumental in getting the Jaguars here to town with Touchdown Jacksonville. And there are a lot of guys who can make things happen in the community there with Jack Sports. It's going to be interesting to me to see what kinds of events start coming to town. They've got, as you know, we're taping this on, what is this, Wednesday?
Tuesday
night. Yeah. I'm trying to get caught up from Memorial Day. And I went too far. So it's Tuesday night. Wednesday morning, they're going to have an announcement. So by the time most of you have heard this, they will have made an announcement about a fairly substantial sports event that is coming to town, which I believe will have, will be an economic impact kind of thing more than it will be getting everybody excited in Jacksonville. If what I'm hearing is the right one, but this is now being moved. It has been moved from the mayor's office, and now this kind of public-private partnership situation where they'll work on it from that standpoint with Alan Verlander, and Rick Catlett will sit on that board as well. And going to be very interesting to me.
So lay this out for me, how Jack Sports and Gator Bowl Sports work in concert with each other.
Okay, so the Jacksonville Sports Council is a part of the Gator Bowl Sports brand, and that brand includes, I was about to say the Gator Bowl, but it's actually the Tax Slayer Bowl now. They've changed. They've got a charitable wing of this as well, and then they've got the Jacksonville Sports Council, and it's this is what they're going to do is go out and bring events to town that have that will have either economic impact or improve quality of life kind of things, and obviously something that Rick Catlett pointed out is the Gator Bowl is operated at a deficit most years, and they're hoping that won't necessarily be the case with the Jacksonville Sports Council. And what they're doing right now is going out trying to recruit kind of people on several levels. One is to be a member, where you get a bunch of discounts and so forth to all these different events, and you can support the effort. The other is now adding these board members in. Mark Lamping, by the way, is on that board. Matt Rapp, the executive director of the Players, is on that board. John Delaney, former mayor and the president of UNF, is on that board.
Were all those people at this meeting today?
Here's who was at the meeting today. Catlett was on the phone. He and Vince McCormick, who is the Gator Bowl Sports chairman this year, were on the phone. Paul Astleford, with the Visit Jacksonville, was there, who's an ex officio member, non-voting member. Gil Langley, the Nassau County Visitors Bureau, was there. Matt Rapp was there. Lamping was not. Joel Lamp with the city was there. Tony Curlis, managing director of Merrill Lynch. Charlie Tom of Brumos. John Delaney was not there today. Andy King of Republic Services was there. And so the other two that were not there, Richard Goldman of the St. Johns County Visitors Bureau and Dan Murphy of Fidelity National Financial. So that's a powerhouse board. That's a lot of folks who can make some things happen, some of which have governmental ties, who are the non-voting ties by and large, like Paul Astleford with Visit Jacksonville. But this is not uncharted territory around the country, but it is to a certain extent in Jacksonville, because it has always been more of it's fallen under the mayor's office. So it's going to be interesting to me how this sort of develops over the course of the next 6, 8, 12 months.
We've tried something similar to this before in terms of a council. It didn't include such powerhouse guys, but we've had an outside sports entity that was kind of quasi, in the 80s we had some loose associations, and I can only hope that any sort of public-private partnership these days really puts together all of the attributes of Jacksonville that people who have moved here recognize. And the problem in the past has always been is there's always been this conflict between what you might call old Jacksonville and city government and how they want to kind of glacially move along, and new people who want to have all these different things going on. The thing that I think is necessary is to really have the new people driving the thing without any impediment from people who just want to kind of slow down and take their time.
Well, and the other part of this is you can't have people who are on the board who are looking at what's in it for me. I mean, they can be aware of that downstream, but it can't just be how do I use this to make my situation better or my business's situation better. I think it's got to be. I hope that it will be from all parties involved a very united front about how's the best way to do this thing to make Jacksonville better, and you set some parameters of. Again, to me, and I don't know that this is a conversation that Alan Verlander's had or that the board has had, but to me, it's one of two things. One, does it create substantial and immediate economic impact in Jacksonville that can potentially be leveraged for long-term economic gain? Or number two, does it improve the quality of life and the opportunity for great events in Jacksonville so people here in town can celebrate that? And I guess the third part of that might be, does it change the image of Jacksonville outwardly, externally to the country, to the world, to improve the economy?
So the two key players in there are Matt Rapp and Mark Lamping, because this thing can do nothing for them, but their presence and their events, their team can bring a cachet to this thing that people can identify with immediately. And I think it's a very positive thing that they're both on board when it comes to creating other situations here that, as you said, improve the quality of life.
Yeah, I agree. All right, the other thing I want to touch on quickly is U.S. men's national. We're taping this. U.S. men's national team is playing an international friendly against Azerbaijan, who is, I think, the 84th ranked team in the world, something like that.
Yeah, 83rd, and we're like 14th.
So, and in San Francisco, where they apparently didn't let anybody know that tickets were for sale because it's a pretty poor showing. From what it doesn't look like anybody bought a ticket in the upper deck at Candlestick Park.
No, I don't think it was open. I think it was closed.
They may not have bothered to open it up at all. I think we're around, somewhere between 30 and 35,000 tickets sold here in Jacksonville for the June 7th send-off game. But it got me thinking. San Francisco's had a lot of major sporting events through the years. Obviously, with the 49ers and the A's and the Giants and the Warriors and so forth. They've had a lot with those teams and hosted bowl games and so forth. But for Jacksonville, I think this is as close to an Olympics as we are likely to get in terms of having a highest level of international competition going on. And it's going to be interesting. I wonder how much people are going to be caught up in this thing from that standpoint, compared to being involved on a level of, hey, look at this. It's something that's on ESPN.
Right. I just think that if you look at that Leeds South Sydney rugby match, the friendly against Scotland, the turnouts when the U.S. women's team has played here. I just think people really enjoy this kind of thing this time of year. And, to me, it becomes the thing to do. And it does show that people here have we have such a strange reputation nationally as just a backwater college football town that, if we get 50,000 people, and that's what I think will show up next Saturday to the game, I mean, it changes the perception. The NCAA's perception, they keep bringing their first and second round back here.
Coming back.
There's all kinds of perceptions that are out there that are easily changed by these kinds of things, or maybe not easily changed, but it makes us feel pretty good about ourselves. Cole, can we stop it here, and can you splice this in?
Absolutely. We'll
All
take a
right.
break, and Sam's going to go do TV, and
All right.
we'll come back and kickstart it again.
I'll be right back. All righty. All right. Well, we've had like two great chances to score.
But that one just didn't. It's not that great. That's the two I should. I'll turn. Oh.
You need to unmute yourself, Sam. I muted you while we went away there.
How do I do that?
There
Like
you
that?
go. Just
Okay.
like that.
Okay. Very good.
All right. So we're rolling.
All righty.
And so we pick it up here. Again, talking about the U.S. men's national team and the kind of event that would be. And again, I'm trying to think of a way looking forward that we're likely to have something that feels more like an Olympics here. And maybe I have this in my mind because it seems like everybody is falling out of the running to host, or is pulling out of the running to host the 2022 Winter Games. Nobody seems to want these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not suggesting that Jacksonville's going to get the Olympics anytime soon, but this is the largest world stage I think that Jacksonville is likely to be on from that standpoint, at least for the near future. So I think it's going to be a big deal event.
I agree with you, Cole. And it's funny, having covered sports now in Jacksonville for 34 years. We had a day, a Sunday here, where the men's team and the women's team both played Norway on the same day in a friendly. Okay, those are the kinds of events. We're used to doing a lot of this stuff. I mean, I give credit to guys, obviously, like Jake Godbold and Dick Kravitz and people who had this kind of vision to do things. And we hosted 2 friendlies in one day. Well, this was before it became such a big deal on ESPN. Before everything became such a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had those kind of things happen here, whether it was the U.S. gymnastic trials that were held here, a lot of regional competitions. There was at one point Jacksonville was trying to vie for kind of being the second amateur headquarters for places next to Indianapolis. So, there have been a lot of big events here, but at this time frame in the city's development and the way people view how, that everything's a big deal, that TMZ and ESPN and Entertainment Tonight and everybody's got to cover it, So,
and by the way, I'm not trying to sell that this U.S. men's national prep game for the World Cup is bigger than having the Super Bowl here, but it is more like an Olympics or an Olympic event than we're like that. I know we're going to have the curling national championships, but again,
right.
That's U.S. competitor against U.S. competitor. And the Players' Championship has an international field and all. But from just that national pride standpoint.
Absolutely, and this is another step, I think, when you look at it, that with the numbers of people that'll show up, anytime there's a friendly played in the United States and they're looking for a place outside of New York, Jacksonville will be considered as a potential host city. And I think that's a very positive thing.
And by the way, that weekend in Jacksonville, I think we've talked about this before, is going to be one of the wildest weeks ever for sports. Just on that Saturday alone, downtown, you will have the Suns, the Sharks, the U.S. men's national team game. I think the Suns are a 1 o'clock, the Sharks are a 3 o'clock start, and then it's a 6 or 6:30 start for the U.S. men's national, a 6 o'clock, I think, for U.S. men's national team.
Right.
At the same time, the powerboat races will be going on in the river. So, and I know that there are at least 4 or 5 charity events that are going on that night, and I think Christopher Cross may be playing that evening as well.
Oh, is he? Really?
Park. Yeah. So we'll see who
Ride like the wind, Christopher Cross.
will be sailing away, right?
That one, yeah.
That's the one.
Sailing. Gotcha. Well, it's this time of year I think is always great. You start looking at late March all the way into the first couple of weeks of June. We have that ideal weather. Everybody wants to cram everything that they do into that time frame, and the one thing I would say to people, get out and enjoy it. Go out and do something.
Yeah.
Just go out and enjoy part of it. And I think you'd be surprised. Can't tell you how many people who live in Jacksonville, who I run into occasionally at Suns games, will say to me, I've never been here. What a great time.
Never been to a Suns game.
Yeah,
Wow.
at the ballpark. Wow, what a great venue. And
Yeah,
those kind of things. And you hope that people have that same experience at the arena when they go, and certainly the Jaguars are trying to create that same kind of thought process at the stadium.
I'll be at the baseball grounds on Thursday night. Just going to head out there as a fan and hang out with a brother-in-law. So
near perfection.
Yep.
When you sit there and watch a baseball game.
That's right. That'll do it for the Sam and Cole podcast. Thanks for joining us. You can follow Sam on Twitter at Sam Kavaris. Follow me on Twitter at Cole Pepper. The Sam and Cole podcast brought to you by Black Creek Outfitters. And just one thing I want to point out that Sam did not mention earlier is how knowledgeable the staff is at Black Creek. Everybody in there, they really know their stuff about some specialty stuff and the stuff that they have, whether it's for kayaking or hiking or just living in Florida in the elements. They really know their stuff there at Black Creek.
Particularly, and, well, across the board, but stuff like stand-up paddleboarding and kayaking and all that, they really, I asked a question about Glacier National Park once, and the guy said, hold on, and he went back and got another of his friends who has been there once a year for, the last 20 years. So that'll do it for the Sam and Cole podcast presented by Black Creek Outfitters. Don't forget, you can follow Cole at Cole Pepper on Twitter, and me at Sam Kavaris on Twitter, and we'll be back at the end of this week here on the Sam and Cole podcast.